Hello everyone, we are here today. Nice to have you again today. Our conversation is very different and special for those who are looking for success. Today we gonna discuss personal branding with Miss Liana Rojas. We are so excited to have you today with us, Miss Liana. Let's say have a nice weekend and go on our conversation.
Thank you so much, Musab, for having me here. I'm so excited. I'm glad that we've been able to make it. And thank you for doing this, for providing this space for your audience. I've heard some of your recordings, and I think what you're doing is fabulous. So congratulations, and it's an honor for me to be here. So I'm Ileana Rojas. I'm a leadership, career, and executive transformation strategy coach. I'm the owner of my business, Believe Coaching and Consulting. And before this new phase of my life, before I was an executive in marketing and sales in top Fortune 500 companies. And that was for 20 years. And now I've decided to branch out on my own because although I loved that part of my life and building businesses, the reality is the thing that was in my passion, in my heart, was to create my team, or to enable my teams to become high performing teams, and my leaders to become high performing leaders. And I now believe that was one of the most important reasons for the success of the businesses that I was in. So now I decided that I wanted to do that full time versus just a part of a role. So here we are in that next step.
Okay. Again, thank you so much for accepting my invitation, and I feel privileged to have you today and share your expertise through We Can Talk. When I was preparing for this episode, I asked my friend if they know anything about self branding. When one of them asked me, "Are we products or companies to have a brand for ourselves?" So let's starting our conversation with this question: Are we products or companies to have a brand for ourselves?
That's actually a great question. Thank you for asking. So the reality is, a personal branding, you could call it, is a way that people what they say about us, what they think about us, how they feel about us, how they experience us. In a way, it's what people say about us when we're not in the room. And if you compare it in a way to a product, a brand of a product, it's the same thing. It's how we experience the product beyond just the product. So although we are not necessarily a product, the experience of how others see us or what others think about us is in a way the same. And whether we've carefully crafted it and are conscious about our personal brand, or whether we have never thought about it, the reality is that people still see us in a certain way, and they still say things, about us when they ask, when our name comes up, an image comes in their minds, or a way for them to express about ourselves comes up. So that is really what our brand is all about. It's about what others say about us when we're not in the room.
What does people thought about us? That is exactly what does personal branding mean. So why we should care about our personal brand?
And we should, because it is our reputation, right? When people say things about us, you want them to say good things about who we are. And not only you want them to say good things, but you want them to say what you believe, you stand for, or what's important to you. Because if you have an image of who you are in your mind, or what you want to stand for, and then people say really great things, but that have nothing to do with that, then we are clearly projecting a different brand that what we want to stand for. So we want to be very mindful and be
Okay.
very conscious of our brand and what we want it to stand for, and therefore start building it and creating it in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give you an example. So I'm, like I
Mm-hmm.
said, in my previous life, I was a marketing and sales expert. So
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of people, see me that way, see me as a marketing expert, building brands, because that's what I did, right?
Okay.
But when I started
Mm-hmm.
my new life as an entrepreneur
Mm-hmm.
and as a coach and as a consultant, uh, helping either
Mm-hmm.
professionals build their careers or helping companies build high performing teams,
Okay.
my brand, I needed to be very conscious of creating this new brand so that when people thought about Ileana, they would think about me as a coach and a consultant, because the people that knew me as a marketing expert. So
Mm-hmm.
when I said, you know what, now I have this new company, people would reach out to me, and many of them still do,
Mm-hmm.
from a marketing perspective, but
Mm-hmm.
not from a coach perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I had to be very conscious about what's the brand and what's the image that I want to create, what's the thought
Mm-hmm.
that I want people to think about when my name comes up, so that they
Okay.
reach out to me from a coach and a consultant perspective versus a marketing expert.
Okay. As you said, Miss Ileana, so our personal brand works as a profile for us.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. So how could we build our personal brand? I mean, what's the steps should we follow to have a personal brand?
There are many things, but the way I see it, there are
Mm-hmm.
three main things that I always work with many of my clients when I help them build their personal brand.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is to become aware of who you are and embrace who you are, and really identify
Mm-hmm.
what is it that makes you unique. What's the value that you bring to the table?
Mm-hmm.
Because if not, then it's going to be very hard for you to express who
Mm-hmm.
you are, and then for others to be able to clearly understand
Mm-hmm.
and see you that way.
Mm-hmm.
So it starts with knowing who you are, embracing who you are, and being able to have a very clear story. A lot of people call this, in a way, your elevator pitch.
Mm-hmm.
That 30-second line that you can say to others, when
Mm-hmm.
you're introduced, and you say,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I'm Eliana Rojas.
Mm-hmm.
The way I introduce myself at the beginning, right?
Okay.
I'm a
Mm-hmm.
executive and career transformation strategy coach, and this is
Mm-hmm.
how I help others. So first is
Mm-hmm.
that self-awareness of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
The second part of it is to elevate our voice.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we do not share with others and are constantly telling
Mm-hmm.
others in different ways who we are, then I always say we become the world's best kept secret. We can be incredibly awesome in what we do. We can have, the power to help others in based on what we do. But if we don't tell others, then they're never going to know that we can help them. So it's very important that we can become fearless to elevate our voices, and really put ourselves out there so that others can know who we are. That would be the second one. And then the third one
Mm-hmm.
would
Mm-hmm.
be to build our network, to
Mm-hmm.
expand our network, so that through others that know us, they can
Mm-hmm.
become the echo to our voice,
Mm-hmm.
because we
Mm-hmm.
can't be everywhere. But if others know about us and the value that we bring to the table, they might say, hey, I know Ileana or I know
Mhm.
Musab, and they're
Mhm.
perfect for doing this, so they can become the connection, and can become our advocates, and our supporters,
Mhm. Mhm.
in ways that are beyond maybe our regular area of influence.
Mhm.
So in summary, it would be, embrace who you are,
Mhm.
have your
Mhm.
clear story,
Mhm.
elevate your voice so that others can, know who you
Mhm.
are, and then build, and expand your network, so
Mhm.
that then you can have influence beyond your regular
Mhm.
area of where you interact.
Okay. So before to jump for the next question, let's mention points you said about social media. How could I use my platforms in social media to build my brand?
Oh, in so many ways. And right now, with this digital transformation that we're all going through, social media has become even more important, to use as a platform to help, build our brands. And the first recommendation is to know your audience. Who are you helping, with what you're trying to accomplish? So that once you've identified where, who your audience is, who are your potential clients, or who are you trying to reach, then you can start thinking about what type of platforms
Mhm.
do they regularly use.
Mhm.
So in my case, for example, as a coach and a consultant,
Mhm.
the majority of my clients live on LinkedIn, because that's the professional platform where they connect with others, where they find
Mhm.
professional development information.
Mhm.
So my audience is on LinkedIn. So I want to make sure that that I build a strong profile on LinkedIn, that I create a strong network on LinkedIn, that I'm
Mhm.
constantly
Mhm.
interacting on LinkedIn, so that others can see what I do and can connect with me, and can find relevant information. For other people,
Mhm.
maybe Instagram is where their audience is,
Mhm.
because they found, if you're a photographer, for example, or if you're a creator, of content,
Mhm.
Instagram has become a really great platform for
Mhm.
that. So they want to make sure that they have a strong profile, on Instagram, where they can constantly, engage and connect with their
Mhm.
potential audience.
Mhm.
So you have to, the first step is to really identify who is your audience, and then identify what are the platforms where they regularly interact, so that
Mhm.
you can then build a strong profile in those platforms,
Mhm.
and make sure that you can then, be connected. And you can be in more than one platform. I normally recommend to be at
Mhm.
least in 2 or 3 platforms, but know which one is your main platform, social media platform. That's where you will dedicate, maybe 60% of your time,
Mhm.
in connecting and interacting, and
Mhm.
then the rest of the time you
Mhm.
split it in those other one or
Mhm.
two platforms.
Mhm. So, as you said, Miss Ileana, social media to reflect who you are and your passion, your surveys, your interest. So, what's your advice for those who are using social media for fun only?
Um, I
Mhm.
would say just be intentional about the things that you post and the profile that you create, because even though you might not want it, or be doing it just for building a brand, in a way it's still how people are seeing you, and how people are connecting with you, and you want to make sure that image is an image that you feel comfortable with, and that's not going to create, uh, any kind of negative image as you move forward in the future, because as we think about it, everything that's posted in social media, or in the internet, or in any platform, it just stays there. It's very hard to erase, or very hard to delete. So people will be able to see it, and we're seeing it now with a lot of celebrities around the world, where they are now being contacted, or somebody posts something that they said 10 years ago, or 15 years ago,
Yeah.
because and it's coming to harm them in some way, because they didn't
Absolutely.
realize
Yeah.
that. So even though you're not intentionally maybe trying to build a brand right now in your social media, just be very careful of what it is that you post and that you share, because you don't know 10 years from now, or 15 years from now, where you're going to be, and how what you post today is going to impact you, in the future.
Okay. So, do you think, Miss Ilyana, using social media for fun will make us lose a lot of opportunities? As you know, most of companies ask about social media platforms for those who want to apply to opportunities. So, do you think that?
I think social media, like anything, will either help you or not. But the most intentional you become, being conscious of what you do and how you use it, and how it becomes the amplifier of your voice, it'll be the best. It really, it becomes, so think about it as a magnifying glass, or think about it as a how do you call these, where you talk like a speakerphone, right? Everything that you say, no matter how small, can get amplified very, very fast. So in when I was little, I remember my mom always saying, be careful what you write. And at that time, social media did not exist, but you still had to be careful of, a note that you would write to somebody else, because you never know where that note, in what hands it could fall, and what they could do about
Yeah,
about
absolutely.
that note, right? So I think it's the same right now. It's just that now it's not in a piece of paper; it's virtually in the cloud somewhere. So it's about being very intentional. The other thing that I would recommend, and that I normally do, and I would recommend the audience to do regularly, is to search yourself online. To use whatever search platform, Google, Bing, whatever it is that you
Okay.
use, and to search your name, like put your name and see what comes up,
Okay.
because you never know. One thing is what you post, and you might be very careful about what you post, but that's not the only thing that's out there, right? Like you and I right now are having this recording, which is not in my hands, it's in your hands, and you're going to post it in your platform. So that is something that's going to be out there now with my name. And the way that happens, a lot of other people might take pictures or might say things, and they might post them with your name. So you want to make sure that you're always aware of when people search you online and they put your name, what comes up, and if that is a reflection of the brand and the image that you want to create, or if it's not. And if it's not, then you might want to reach out to those, that the people or the organization or whoever posted it, to say, hey, would you be so kind of removing that, or changing it, or not making it active, so that it doesn't come up. Because you're right, when you are looking for a job, when you are trying to, build, try to get clients, if you're building your own business, you want to make sure that people are going to search for you, and that when they put that name, that the things that you want come up. The other thing is, maybe your name doesn't come up. maybe
Okay.
maybe maybe you're not the first one on the list.
Okay.
Some of us have names that are
Mhm.
relatively common, and
Mhm.
that maybe a lot of people,
Mhm.
other people, show up.
Mhm.
So you want to make sure that if your name is not the one that's showing up,
Mhm.
then how do you add something to your name
Mhm.
so that then people, you're the one that shows up? So maybe you
Mhm.
say,
Mhm.
my name is Ileana Rojas, the coach,
Mhm.
or Ileana Rojas, the consultant.
Okay.
Um, and that way, and that's how you present yourself all the
Mhm.
time, so that
Mhm.
when people write your name, they write that extra tag, so that
Okay.
then it's you that shows up and
Mhm.
not
Mhm.
somebody else that might have a similar name.
Okay. 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 Is personal branding for a certain age group for those who are looking for job opportunities or for everyone?
Personal branding is for everyone.
Okay.
And even if you're just like in the uh, early years of your career path, you're in high school or you're in college, and you're starting to get out there from a social media perspective. I would again definitely encourage you to always think about what you're posting and how you're using your image, because in many countries, if you want to get into
Mhm.
a university, they might also search you and see, hey,
Mhm.
let's see what this person
Mhm.
is doing, and how they are presenting themselves. So you want to be very thoughtful and mindful of what you're doing. And the same thing, if you're already a seasoned professional in your career, and you want to do something completely different, you also
Mhm.
want to be mindful of, okay, what's out there when people
Okay.
search my name.
Mhm.
So I would say always be thoughtful about what your brand can look like when people
Okay.
search for you on on
Mhm.
on the internet.
Okay. Let's say I have a personal brand, and as you said, personal brand works as a profile to me. That is mean I'm in challenge with different brands. So how could I make my brand first choice for people?
When you think about that elevator pitch that I talked about, in terms
Mhm.
of how can you have a quick line, either when you talk a 30-second, or when you write it. For example, your headline on LinkedIn, it's
Okay.
200 characters.
Mhm.
So you want to make sure that those 200 characters have not only have keywords of how you want people to think about you. So again, using my example, I'm a coach and a consultant, so I want to make sure that coach and consultant are part of those keywords. But
Mhm.
then the other thing that I want to make sure is that there are key differentiators that talk to the value that I bring, or that talk to who I am, so that
Mhm.
when people search for me, they can get a good idea of the things that I do. So in my case, I talk about being a Hispanic advocate
Mhm.
because I'm a Latina, and
Mhm.
and that's something that I'm very passionate about.
Mhm.
I'm also diversity and inclusion, or I consider myself a
Mhm.
diversity and inclusion catalyst.
Mhm.
So that I'm sure I try to put that in that headline.
Mhm.
Uh, and so it's using words
Mhm.
that can identify you in a unique way,
Mhm.
so that
Mhm.
when your name comes up, people can read those 200 characters and find words that can quickly share and tell a story
Mhm.
in a very fast way, and meaningful way that differentiates you versus somebody else. If I would just say I'm Ileana and I'm a professional coach, then that might be something that, or a
Okay.
career coach. If,
Mhm.
if you search career coaches, they're going to be thousands and thousands and thousands.
Mm-hmm.
But if I talk about, and I'm also diversity and inclusion, and I also focus on Hispanic, and I also, focus on this and on that, then it starts narrowing it down significantly, so that then my specific audience,
Okay.
or the people that are I serve, will then find me in an easier way, and can differentiate me versus any other career coach that's out there.
Mhm. So I have to be specific and honest also.
Yes, definitely. Very authentic.
Mhm. Okay. So should I have planned to control my brand, Miss Ileana?
Yes. Like
Let's take
with
you as example.
so we opened this conversation talking about a personal brand. Is it like, like the brand of a product?
Mhm.
And if you think about any product, it has a plan, right? It has an advertising that's
Mhm.
out there, that's constantly talking about the
Mhm.
benefits of that product. So in a way, if you want to be intentional, and if you really want to build your brand, I
Mhm.
would definitely recommend that
Mhm.
you do a similar approach of thinking about building content and creating content that in a way talks constantly
Mhm.
about you and what you offer. And if you have programs, then
Mhm.
showcase those programs, or if you're a speaker, then talk about the topics and the things that you're an expert on, or the things that you're passionate about, but be
Mhm.
intentional. I always say to many of my clients, in an ideal world, you'd have to interact on a daily basis, putting content always out there that reflects your thoughts, your passions, what you want others to think about you, so that they're constantly seeing you under that light.
Mhm. Okay, so we have to consider ourselves as product to develop our brands day by day, as you said.
Yes, I don't
Mhm.
like to consider myself as a product, but in a way,
Mhm.
if that helps, if that
Okay.
helps in thinking about how do you build your brand, and how do you build a sort of the marketing and the communication behind it. If that helps, yes, I mean, by all means.
Okay, as my friend said, we are product. Okay, so before we over our conversation, thank you so much again, Miss Eliana, for taking time to have a full discussion with me about personal branding. And Mike is yours again to talk about Believe Coaching and Consulting Company. And I will take a moment to mention that Miss Eliana working very hard with individuals in self-development and also organizations. I will leave the link of Believe Consulting and Coaching organization in description, and highly recommended to participate in Believe's campaign in self-development. Thank you so much again, Miss Eliana.
Thank you, thank you. Yes, I love I love what I do, and I'm always trying to create content for others, and to give constant tips for others, because I think that's part of my purpose, to help others reach their extraordinary, and I do that by sharing all the things that I've learned through my life, and that now I use for my clients, to help them reach their extraordinary.
Okay. Again, have a nice weekend, and Miss Eliana will be the guest of the week, and stay close for the next one. Bye bye.